Okay, before I discuss this with you, Professor Sare, let me talk to Bukola again. We've got her back on the line. Bukola, good evening and happy Independence Anniversary.
Good evening. I wish you the same.
Good. What happened in Ibadan today and in your state?
Okay, there were lots of activities actually, though the traditional celebration that we've been all used to, where kiddies and adults go to the stadiums for match parts and all other activities, were surprisingly absent because when we visited the stadium, it was empty. Earlier on in the day started with a live broadcast by the executive governor of the state, Governor Abiola Jumobi, where he spoke to the entire citizens of the state. And in his word, he said that Nigerians have every right to be proud of our nation and our history and the many compatriots who have sustained our independence and freedom. He also noted that we have had our fair share of challenges and that have tested our strengths in the past, and we should actually draw more strength in this and make sure that the unity in the country is sustained. And of course, resilience and love for one another should also continue. And he also drummed up a lot of support for the president. He said that the current wind of change is going to bring a lot of goodness to Nigerians if only people could exercise some patience. And then afterwards, we actually expected celebrations and all that at the stadium, but that was non-existent. But the wife of the governor made up for that by hosting children with special needs and some less privileged people. She gave them gifts, they wined and dined together, and lots of those gifts were distributed to orphanages and homes across the entire state, all in celebration of the Independence Day. And then incidentally, today also happens to be the United Nations International Day for Older Persons. So at the Geriatric Center in UCH, it was a beehive of activities. There was a lot of excitement at the place. We met a lot of elderly people who came to be a part of that day. Some of them that we spoke with after the event were so happy that after all, a day has been set aside to actually recognize their input and their value within the society. But at the workshop of thought that it turned out to be, a lot of issues were raised about the care of the elderly in Nigeria, especially the absence of policy, concrete policies that could actually champion the causes that can address the challenges faced by older persons. Especially the theme this year is sustainability and age inclusiveness in the urban environment. Because a lot of houses, shopping malls and commercial centers were built without even regard for the elderly, without special consideration for them like it is done outside the shores of Nigeria. So a lot of them, they are actually pleaded with the government to make sure that we have policies that could champion the cause of vulnerable people within the society.
Okay, thank you very much, Bukola. Seems like Oyo State is being a beehive of activity, like you said, and the people of Oyo had fun today. But then tomorrow they're back to work, I reckon.
Oh, certainly.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you very much, Bukola. Okay, now, Prof, if you look at what is happening in the Northeast now, it seems we'll end up going back to the issue of education. What kind of budget would you expect will go not only into saying we're stabilizing them, but in ensuring there is education, especially when you have a major percentage of those children who are orphans? The governor of Borno State has done a great thing by picking on a number of those orphans and making sure that he sends them to school in other states to ensure the girl orphans are taken care of. But the numbers we've got, what should we be doing with them?
In fact, before we even go about talking what are we, budget and all that, a more critical one is post-traumatic counseling. Nobody has bothered to think about counseling for them. Because they are psychologically, you can give them all the things, you can build house for them and all that. But the psychological state they are in is a key one there. Even if you are able to ensure that you have a robust budget, which I think is not possible because what is staring us on the face is no money in the system. Oil money is drying up so fast. We have to diversify. But the critical thing is that we have to expose them to counseling, to ensure that they see themselves positively. Because if you internalize negative thoughts about yourself, it becomes a problem. So it's a mental reorientation that is very important. Then proper classroom education. And of course, we have to ensure that there is dedicated budget for them. Dedicated budget. Because if you don't, okay, I've lost my parents, I've lost my siblings, what else do I have? Education. And education is what gives you upward mobility. So they deserve that, and we have to provide it for them, because whether we like it or not, they are Nigerians like us. And it is due to no fault of theirs, especially the displaced ones. It's not their fault that they were displaced. It was not their fault that some people decided to burn down their houses and all that. So we have to give them counseling to ensure that they're psychologically healthy again. Then we have dedicated budget for their proper education.
Okay, so let me ask Colonel here. When we look at the issue of insurgency, there's a tendency for it to take advantage of those who are going through stuff that makes them very vulnerable to that. What are the things that our soldiers, our military should be doing now that will help them counter that? Because we don't hear a lot of counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism in Nigeria. We don't hear a lot of it. Maybe there is.
I expect that the CIMIC agenda of the military, that is civil military agenda, that's civil military cooperation, should be highly, highly, highly promoted at this point. And that is a program that will be able to bring in communal synergy to bear in the entire activities of the military. Whatever the military is doing right now at this point in time, they must try to carry along the communities in which they are operating. Something really disturbs me. How come Amnesty International came into this country, got enough information, and even made attempts at indicting our military and so on? If you sit down and analyze what Amnesty International was saying, going by the level of information they had in their hands, they were not here physically on their own, snapping photographs and so on. They penetrated the community and got information, sat down and compiled some rubbish, which they intend to rubbish our military with. To me, they succeeded in doing that probably because, or I see that as a failure on our own path, failure to carry along with us the communities in whatever we were doing. Otherwise, if those communities were to be on our side, they wouldn't part with the sort of information that was part to Amnesty International. So, taking that as a reference point, the military by now should make sure that its Department of Civil Military Operations is up and doing.
Okay, very quickly then, we have a few minutes before we wrap up this session. Professor Fajoyemi, let me ask you, 55 years of Nigeria's independence, what will be your summary of how we have done?
Yeah. Assessing a 55-year-old man, maybe we would say we had not done well. However, you know, the man is moving towards his maybe the end. But for a country, we still have a long way to go. You know, we learn by falling. So it's not a crime to fall. It's rising up and not knowing what to do that becomes a crime. I believe at 55, we're still on the right path. If we work together as a nation, I think that will be the judgment for now, that if we have learned from our past mistakes, even at 55, we can still make it. Don't forget, there are developments in science and technology, and we now have longer lifespan. So we can live up to 70, 80. A nation lives up to 1,000 years. So if you do well, after reflecting on what we have done for the past 55 years, I believe Nigeria still is a place where there is hope.
Okay, Professor Osare, what's your thoughts? 55 years of Nigeria. How have we done from your perspective, from your thoughts?
We've not really done badly, if we want to say the truth. Yes, there are hiccups here and there. There are gaps here and there. But holistically, we have not done well. We have faltered, yes, stumbled, yes, but we are still standing with our heads on our shoulders. And from the look of things, I am very, very positive. I'm very convinced that Nigeria is on the right path. 55 years to come, gathering, because you look at where you are coming from, where are you now, where are you going? You synergize, put everything together cumulatively, and forge ahead. Nigeria has done well.
Okay, in one sentence, Colonel, what's your assessment?
Going by all the resources this country has been able to mobilize, going by the achievement.
What about the resources we failed to mobilize?
I'm coming, my brother. Going by all the resources we've been able to mobilize, I mean, we have at our disposal the quantum of oil this country has been able to
drill and
market out, and all the monies we've been able to make in terms of resources, and then look at the achievement, so little on ground. I think we are a failure. We must look at ourselves into the face and tell ourselves we have failed. If it's an examination, we are probably out of 30, we are in the 28th position. If I'm marking Nigeria out of 100, I think we are 21%. The only thing is that we have hope. A hope for a greater tomorrow. A hope because we still have good Nigerians who can bail us out. We still have the Buharis. We still have people who are even better than him. Amongst us, amongst our children, and so on. There is a ray of hope. But for now, the scorecard is below 20%.
Okay, thank you very much. On that note, we'll take a break, and then we'll be coming back. I want to say a very big thank you to the group of discussants here, starting with Professor Fajoyemi, who's a former Dean of Faculty of Management Sciences. Thank you for being on the show. And also Professor Ngozi Osare, former Commissioner for Education and now Professor in the Psychology Department. Is it Psychology Department?
No, Educational Foundation.
Educational Foundation.
University
in University of Lagos.
Yes.
Educational Foundation. We need you in the northeast of Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
We'll tell Mr. President about that. And then, of course, there is Colonel Hassan Stanlabo, security consultant. Thank you very much, gentlemen and lady. And we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll have another set of discussants to join us. Nigeria at 55, a special conversation going on tonight. Don't miss out on this. Stay with us.